Hello and welcome in guys to my guitar review channel. Today I'm checking out a 98 Ibanez RG507 in the rare and beautiful Gold Rush finish. And here it is. Before I start talking about this guitar though, I want to discuss something that was on my mind for a long time now. I want to talk about the subjectivity of guitar players and being biased to a certain type of guitar. And I'm gonna straight up say it, I don't like Ibanez guitars. But does that make them bad guitars? Absolutely not. First I'm gonna explain why I don't like Ibanez guitars, then I'm gonna look at it objectively. First of all, I don't like the RG style of body and I don't like flat tops. The edge bridge is hugely uncomfortable for me, I don't like trem bridges. The control scheme is totally unnatural for me and I don't need a 5-way switch. The middle pickup always gets in the way of my picking, even if I adjust it in the lowest position. I'm not a fan of rosewood fingerboards. I don't need 24 frets and the longer scale length. This Wizard 2 thin neck absolutely kills my hands. Just because a neck is thin doesn't mean that it's good for you. I don't need a locking nut. This is part of the trem system. I don't like the way a basswood body sounds and feels. I don't like the sound of those pickups. Everything I said is my subjective opinion about this guitar. Is it a bad guitar? Absolutely not. Everything I said matters only to me and me alone. This might be the perfect guitar for you. I try to keep this in mind when commenting on guitars online because I've seen really silly comments like, "Oh, you should sell this guitar and get a Les Paul." A Les Paul might be good for me and absolutely useless to someone else who doesn't like the specs of the guitar. Why don't you go tell early years John Petrucci, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani that they should switch to a Les Paul? Or tell this to Tim Henson from Polyphia, check him out. Just because the specs of a certain guitar doesn't fit your playstyle doesn't mean that this guitar is bad. My point is, every now and then I'm gonna get guitars that are not comfortable for me, but they're worth reviewing, so I'm gonna try and stay as objective as possible to give you a fair review. And here it is. This RG507 caught my attention for a couple of reasons. First of all, I've always wanted to check out a 90s Japanese-made Ibanez. Second interesting reason is that this model, the 507, was made throughout 95 until 99 and it was discontinued. And this particular one, with the Gold Rush finish, was only made in the year 98. They're probably not that rare in the Ibanez community, but I certainly haven't seen one in person. And to really do this guitar justice, I'm not gonna be demonstrating it by myself. Luckily, there is an amazing guitar player in my country who happens to collect 90s Ibanez guitars. This particular RG507 Gold Rush was in his collection for some time and we have a video of him playing it. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel if you're a fan of Ibanez guitars, I'm gonna link it in the description. And let's go back to my opinion of this guitar. It is a good guitar. And I really like the quality of Japanese-made Fuji Game Factory Ibanez guitars from the 90s and up. And the reason for this is that I had some bitter experience with other models that Ibanez made over the years. My first Ibanez was the Iron Label, I think made around 2013. But that guitar was cheap and it was Indonesian made. But I will admit, I've seen some Iron Label models from recent years and Ibanez had really stepped their game up. Then for a really short time I wanted to play Meshuggah and I got the M80M, which is a monstrosity. I admit I had some fun with this 8-string, but it was poorly made Indonesian. It didn't take long for me to realize that I need a Japanese-made prestige model. The first one I bought was a used 2550 in beautiful white finish. It was almost 8 years ago and back then I was experimenting with different brands of guitars. Even back then I felt that it's not the proper guitar for me, but I also felt the quality of the Japanese-made Ibanez guitars. And I gave the brand one last chance. I bought a used Gem 7V, Steve Vai signature guitar. And that Gem was even better in quality. Looked amazing in person, felt amazing, but again, the specs were not fitting my style of playing. I'm still curious about Ibanez guitars though, and I wanna check them out in depth. With that said, make sure you correct me in the comment section if I make any mistakes reviewing this guitar. My experience is mainly with ESP and Gibson guitars, but I want to learn more about Ibanez. And once again, I'm reminding you, make sure you check out the link in the description to see this guitar properly played by a professional. Let's check out this guitar in further detail. Let's go over the specs of this guitar. Once again, this is an Ibanez RG507 in the rare color Gold Rush, which seems to be made only in this year, 1998. Solid basswood body, maple neck, rosewood fingerboard with 25.5-inch scale length, 24 jumbo frets and a really thin wizard 2 neck. GoPro tuners and top lock 3 locking nut. Pickups are V7 at the neck position, S1 single coil in the middle, and then we got a V8 humbucker at the bridge. I like the name V8. This guitar is equipped with edge tremolo, master volume, master tone and a 5-way switch. Bolt-on construction. And here are the full specs. I've removed the pickups so we can have a better look at the cavities. Starting with the neck cavity, and I'm not gonna pull out this pickup too much because the wire is too short and it might break. The cavities have the same Gold Rush paint that the guitar has, and you cannot clearly see the wood, but here you can kind of see the basswood here. But looking over to the other side, you can clearly see the maple neck and the rosewood fingerboard on top of it. Same goes for the bridge pickup cavity. Here's the routing for the electronics. And I like this little cutaway here so the wire wouldn't be pressed too much by the pickup on top of it. The pickups are Ibanez made. First of all, at the neck we have the humbucker V7. Here are the specs. It's ceramic 9.54K. Then at the bridge we got this really hot V8 humbucker. Aunico 5 15.45K. Nothing on the back. Both humbucker pickups share the same slanted pickup ring, really low, like this, and they have those short screws. And here's the cavity for the middle pickup, shielding paint, and this additional wooden piece that is glued. This small piece of wood is there to support the pickup height. Once again, the pickup is Ibanez S1, Aunico 5 at 9.7K. The hot V8 measures at 15.83K, slightly hotter than the specs. Then we got the humbucker V7 at the neck. Then we got the ceramic V7 at 9.07. And the Aunico 5 single coil S1 reads 9.06. The other two positions 3.05, 4.32, and that's for the pickups. And before I move over to the bridge, I've polished the top of this guitar. I've oiled the fingerboard, polished the frets, polished the pickups, pickup rings, and generally check out the condition. Some dings, scratches, cracks over here at the neck, some more dings over here. This is a 24-year-old guitar, and who isn't banged up at 24? What do we got for the bridge? As I said, edge tremolo made by GoPro specially for Ibanez. Some people call it the original edge. It was first introduced in '86 and it was discontinued in 2003. It is considered by some as the finest trem system put in a guitar. A closer look of the individual saddles and blocks and the way they worn out. I've put a 9-volt battery underneath it so I don't have to readjust it too much later on. Over here it reads licensed under Floyd Rose patent. The bridge comes equipped with this trem arm, which is really easy to install, just like this, and it's ready to use. The top is flat and it has this really comfortable cutaway here for the forearm. Time to check out the Wizard 2 neck, rosewood fingerboard, maple neck, 24 jumbo frets. I've just oiled the fingerboard and polished the frets. And here is a closer look of the fingerboard and frets. Overall in good condition, has these dot inlays. And it is time to measure it. Starting at the nut, 43 mm or 1.69 inch. 12th fret is 52.5 mm and 2.06 inches. Ibanez necks are notoriously thin, 18 mm at the first fret or 0.70 inch. 12th fret is 21.5 mm or 0.84 inch. The neck is really thin and comfortable for most people. For me personally, it's too thin. I prefer the Les Paul 60 style necks. A closer look of the top lock 3 locking nut. And we got a string retainer in front of it. Trussrod cavity. The trussrod nut seems to be in good shape. And you can clearly see the maple of the neck. The trussrod cover plastic has 3 screws and it looks like this, pretty scratched and black. Moving over to the black machine heads, which are GoPro SG381 6 in line. The usual Ibanez headstock configuration, the Ibanez logo, RG series logo, and a small ding over here. And this concludes our tour of the front of the guitar. Let's go over to the back. Quick guide. Trem system, bolt-on neck construction, Wizard 2 neck maple. Here you can see the joint. Headstock, GoPro tuners. This is where the nut connects to the neck. What do we got for the back of this Super Strat? First of all, we have a cutaway over here, really comfortable. The neck joint is also really comfortable. And we got a belt buckle rush, pretty usual situation over here. I have removed the plastic plates so we can have a better look of the trem system. The trem block, usual configuration with 3 springs. And over here behind the screws I can see a ground wire coming to the electronics compartment over here. Controls cavity is painted with a shielding paint and has this additional shielding that I'm not really sure it's stock. It has these Alpha 500K pots for the volume and tone, and then it has this 5-way switch over here. I'm not entirely sure why they had to make it like this. The routing for the output jack, they could have made a single cavity, but they chose to do it like this, separate, and it looks kind of weird. It would have looked way better if it was a single cavity. Anyway, we got the cover for the springs, this one big black piece of plastic covering the springs. Don't over tighten the screws or you'll break the edges like this one. And then we have another plastic cover for the output jack, 2 screws. And last, this one for the controls cavity. Original strap buttons. This one is at a weird angle that I cannot really tighten with a big screwdriver, but I've managed to do so with the automatic screwdriver. Original strap button over here at the back too. A closer look at the Wizard 2 neck. From 93 they started using this all-access neck joint, which is really comfortable for high fret access. One piece maple neck with a clear coating on top of it. You can see the maple grain. The joint of the neck and the headstock, and this is where the nut connects to the neck. Then at the headstock we got the go-to tuners again. I'm gonna give you a closer look. Let's zoom in a bit. See the go-to logo on them. They seem to work pretty well. And then we got the serial number and made in Japan 98. This guitar is made at the Fujigen Japanese factory and it's pretty well made. Time to put some strings on it, and to do so I'm using a 3mm Allen wrench, but don't over tighten those blocks because they might crack under the pressure. I'm putting these beefy 1154s on the guitar, and after doing so I needed to readjust the springs on the back, but this is one drawback having a plastic cover like this. The new ones have small holes that allow you to insert the screwdriver and adjust without removing the plastic cover. It's not a problem, just a small inconvenience. The 3-spring configuration didn't cut it for the 1154s, so I had to add additional spring over here at the top side for the top springs. Doesn't really matter where you put it, just need to be properly balanced with the strings, and your bridge should look like this. Now I will wait for a day for the strings to settle, and then I'm gonna lock the nut, and I do so with this 3mm Allen wrench again. You don't need to over tighten those bolts or you will risk damaging the plates that are pressing against. Now that the strings are on and the guitar is set, let's weigh it and then do a demo. It's a light guitar, 3 kg 200 grams or 7.12 pounds. Let's hear it. This Japanese-made RG507 is a really good guitar. Even though it's a bit uncomfortable for me, I enjoyed reviewing it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing because I'll be doing much more. Thank you for watching, guys.